Welcome again to another lesson 7 of Module 3. You are aware that there are three basic types. We had mentioned this also in lesson Module 1. So please go and check different data formats. And we just said there were three primary types of data. Data could come as strings, it could come as numbers, and then it could come as dates. And the date portion is a bit very tricky because it's also sometimes behave like a string sometimes, and sometimes has some features of a number. But basically, a date is a number. But I know, that could be a bit controversial right now because some would say, what does 5th of May mean? May is a string. But the way Stata looks at it is as a number. So that's how it's all structured. So let's carefully now look at a few examples. We had explained this before, but we can now look closely at a few examples. So when dates come in raw form, remember we're doing data preparation, they could come in this form, 12 January 2000, and they're always read by default if they are string. Or in any of the formats you see before, so in the month coming before the date, there's slash, there's dash. People write different kinds of date. Let me know in the comments the kind of dates you have seen before. I mean, if there's anyone that looks strange, but these are the kinds I've seen. But if you have any extra examples, put it in the comments because we could also address it when we have some live sessions or practical sessions. So the other one is one you rarely see, but it does exist. Dates can come in form of numbers, and just say a number, but that number is very powerful and it's basically a reference number. That's how it works. Now, when you're working with dates and you're moving from raw to refined because you want to now do what we call date processing or processing data, you have to move it from string to numbers. That's how it works. String to then to numbers. That's how it works. And then you now have your date. That's how it basically works. Now, please, it's just a general principle. I'm going to just deviate a bit or make it a bit complex, just a bit complex in a couple of slides, but just hold on with this thought. We go from 1, 2, 3. That's the order and sequence. So you convert a string to a number, and there is a syntax for that. So I say gen clear date equals to date. Now there's a function called date. I would quote the date string, which I showed you, and what I call the date order or date elements. So this is an example. I'd already put these dates in the first slide. So I say generate clear date equals to 12th January, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is what we call the date order. Basically, what it's saying is every date has a day, a month, and a year. So because the years are in year 2000, you have the 20Y. Those non-year 2000 just have a simple Y. And then Stata can understand because you need to tell Stata. Now, Stata, for the first time, is looking at this value and is trying to understand what it means. So it will look for day in the first example in 12. It says, oh, that's the 12th day in January. And now it also knows in its head and its brain that January is the first month of the year. And then it knows that now the year 2000 year means 2000. So basically, you need to tell it the order in which the date elements come to play. So that's the first thing. Every string you see on this red, and you want to really do something meaningful with dates. For example, how many days between start date and end date? You cannot use string to produce that information. It will not work. Okay, that's step 1. Remember, we're going, string to number, and then we're going to now move from number to date. That number 1 step creates a number for us. It does not create even the date. Now, to make it a date, you now need to format. So let me take it once more. First thing to do is to use date function to convert string to number, and then convert number to date. Now, what I mean by that is that a date you can see, a date you can work with and calculate. So, clear date, which you just created, percentage TD. There's percentage TC, which we'll do in Module 8. We're going to really spend a lot of time with time, and so that's TD, time date, time clock. I would explain all that in Module 8 in detail, but this is just uh, the fundamentals that we're working with. Okay, so we can have format clear date percentage TD, which I mean time date, or format clear date. I mean, you put the percentage before. Either way, it works. And when we do the practicals, you would also see this. So I hope you are enjoying the journey, and I hope that you are learning as much as you can. I'm sure it has been interesting so far because we've taken theory and then we'll take a practical session. Take theory, take a practical session. If you have any questions about what we have done so far along the journey, especially if you have followed the sequence, module 1, 2, and 3, or you are just an expert and you really want to engage, please let me know in the comments what you want me to explain in a greater detail, what could be confusing to you, and we're happy to do that. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to share with as many of your friends. Share it on WhatsApp status, on your LinkedIn, on all the avenues that can greatly help anyone who will want to improve his skills with data, especially as it relates to data management. So see you in the practical session shortly. So hi there. Welcome to lesson 7, where we talked about formatting dates. We had already formatted uh, the countries where we were doing multiple labels. We had also gone to string, destring, encode, decode. Now we're taking it a step higher. This passport expiry or renewal dates are the things we want to look at. The time when the passport is due for renewal. This is a tourist membership club. We had already explained that. It's a tourist membership club. And so our focus is basically those column 1 where we had this passport renewal date. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so we're already so the first thing is to know what's the structure of the date. From what we can see here, it's the day, the month, and the year. So quite straightforward. We will generate valid, let's just call it valid passport. Gen valid passport renewal date. Quite a long variable, so I'll just say new, or just put n, just make it a little new underscore passport underscore renewal underscore date, just to differentiate, equals to date, and that's a function that's called the date function. And in that date function, you refer to this file here. So we right click, we copy, and we paste here, and then we do the date sequence. What's the date sequence? The day comes first, the month comes next, and then the year is a 2020 something year. So you put it in Y, and we are good to go. So when we run these two files right now, of course, from beginning to end, and let's scroll to the last variable at the end, we will now see a number. Now, I did not say this because we're going to do it in detail in Module 8. Module 8 is for time variables, whether date or clock, as we'll soon come to understand. But we just need to put it in order right now because we have quite a number of things to do. So what it does is gives us a number, but the number is really useless. But technically speaking, that number is a number from January 1st, 1960. January 1st, 1960. The number of days, if you start counting the number of days, that's the value you find here. But it's so useless to you. All you now need to do is what we call the format. I told you it's a two-step process. You first change the string to a number and the number to a date. So now we have a number, we want to convert it to a date, and that's very straightforward. So we'll say format the variable in concern, which is the new one we just created, new passport renewal date. We put the percentage sign, time, and date. That's what it means, percentage TD. And we can run again. So let's see what it will give us. So you can now see 15 December 2026, 23rd October 2024. And if we say, because there's an option for generate that says after, so let's create the file after the new variable after the old variable. Okay, let's try and run that. So when we do that, if we scroll to the beginning now, we put them side by side, 15 December, 15 December, 23rd October, 23rd October, 2nd November, 2nd November. Now, if you look at the Stata format for date, which is the one that you can now use for data processing, you would see that it's a bit more organized, a bit more pleasant to the eye, and there are many variants, but I'm just saying. So basically, this variable now is due or is eligible for what we call date processing. If you have to do anything with dates, the second variable is it. And now you've also observed that date is technically a number and it also shows words. A very funny kind of data format. I had mentioned that in module 1 we have categorical variables, we have continuous variables, and then we have strings, and then we have date variables. So you may want to go back to module 1 again and do a refresher. But basically, this is how it looks in Stata. I hope it has been worth your while. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you so much for your time. Don't forget to replay it, and try it yourself. It's practice that makes perfect. Thank you so much. See you in the next lesson. Bye.